Once my old cat shat all over the bedroom wall in my old house. It was disgusting. It was like he tried to smear it like some sort of artwork. Premier League clubs are about to sell their biggest players. That's because if Brexit happens, the amount of foreign players allowed in a Premier League squad could drastically drop from 17 to just 12. So today I'm going to look at the top 6 sides in the Premier League and who they'll have to cut from their squad to fit in with the new regulations. Now first off, let's set out the rules of this video and the term homegrown player. This means that a player has been trained by a Premier League club for more than 3 years before his 21st birthday. So if during the video you're asking yourself where Lukaku, Pogba, Bellerin and Fabregas and others are, well, they've been trained by their clubs for at least 3 years before their 21st birthday. Lukaku is the only one who didn't come over at the age of 16, but Pogba, Bellerin and Fabregas were all trained by Manchester United, Arsenal and Chelsea way before they hit the magical number. So let's start off with Arsenal, and by the way, I've split each team into 3 categories. Those players who are definitely going to stay, those who I'm kind of on the fence about, and those who I've decided should be leaving. But of course, throughout the video and with every team, you guys can let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. So let's kick off with Arsenal, where the likes of Lacazette, Aubameyang, Ozil, Mustafi, Kolasinac and Bernd Leno are all definitely going to stay. This is alongside Mkhitaryan and Papastathopoulos, who are also going to be staying in the team, as well as Granit Xhaka, who's been a revelation under Unai Emery, and new boy Lucas Torreira. Now for those who I'm a bit unsure about, well, that's Mohamed Elneny and Stefan Lichtsteiner. As for Elneny, he's been injured and been out of form within the few years since he joined Arsenal, and Lichtsteiner, well, he's 34 years old, and although he's a new recruit in the summer, his long-term future isn't really at Arsenal, or maybe even in the game after a few years. So I'm kind of unsure about him. However, the ones who I am kicking out, well, they're definitely up for debate. First off is Petr Cech. Now, he's definitely the best goalkeeper the Premier League has ever seen in terms of clean sheets. However, some iffy performances for Arsenal have seen him overtaken at #1 spot by Bernd Leno, and to be honest, when it comes to thinking about the future, he'll probably be the one to get the boot. The same thing goes for Nacho Monreal, who's been a great servant for Arsenal and even filled in at centre-back when Wenger was trialling that 3 at the back formation. We all know his best position is at left-back, but even there, he's nowhere near where Kolasinac is, and again, on the spiral downward at the end of his career, he's probably not going to stick around for long. The last one, though, is probably the decision that was the most difficult, and it's going to be Laurent Koscielny. Now, he's definitely been one of the Premier League and Arsenal's best defenders in the last few years, but as is with the other two, he is entering his early 30s and he's currently out with a horrific injury. After missing out on France's World Cup winning campaign, it looks like he's months away from an Arsenal return, and by the time he does, he could find that other players have stepped into his space. And just on that quick note, whilst we're talking about the centre-backs, if you're wondering where Greek Mavropanos is, well, he's under the age of 21, which means technically he doesn't have to be registered. Any team can have as many under 21 players as they like. And if you're wondering why only 3 players got kicked out of the Arsenal squad, well, they've only got 15 foreign players overall, so only 3 need to go for them to have the magical 12 number. Next up, we come to Chelsea with 16 foreign players, meaning we're going to have to get rid of 4 of their current squad. The likes of Kepa are obviously going to stay. He's been bought in for big money and he's definitely the future of goalkeeping at Stamford Bridge. In the back line, Marcos Alonso, Antonio Rudiger and Cesar Azpilicueta are all stalwarts of the club and won't be leaving anytime soon, and not without a good replacement anyway. Moving into the midfield, and Jorginho and Kante are mightily impressive for the Blues, and Kovacic is only on a loan, so whether they get rid of him or not isn't really up to them. Moving forward though, and we have one player who's in the definites to stay, however that's unless they get a huge bid for him, and it's Eden Hazard. I could have easily put him in the group to leave the club, but that's only if they really want to, much less than out of necessity. To be honest, there won't exactly be a lack of suitors for the Frenchman, with PSG, Real Madrid and Barcelona all reportedly interested in him. However, it will take about 150 million to prize him away from Chelsea. Below that, we have Pedro and David Luiz, who have started the season in fine form for Chelsea, but are reaching their older years, meaning that should Chelsea look to the future, they're probably not thinking about having those two in their squad. As for the other two, well, Emerson and Zappacosta are good enough fullback replacements for the likes of Alonso and Azpilicueta, but then again, if someone came in with some good money for them, they probably wouldn't think twice about moving them on. As for the 4 players that are moving on, well, one of them is completely obvious, and it's Willy Caballero. The guy is 36 now, had a stinker at the World Cup and clearly can't compete at the highest level, so that one's a no-brainer. But for the other 3, and this is what I really want to hear from you Chelsea fans, I've made a bit of a ballsy prediction. Willian, I'm sorry, he is a fantastic player on his day, but he is so unbelievably inconsistent. It's shown this season when even Pedro, Hazard and Barkley, when they're not on their game, are still being picked ahead of Willian. Although to be fair, Barkley, Hazard and Pedro have been pretty decent, so they've deserved their spots. But even with everything that Willian's given to Chelsea over the years, he was their top goal scorer a few years ago. He's a fantastic free kick taker. He could turn a game on its head in an instant. I still think they'll take a fair amount of money for him. The same thing goes as well for Olivier Giroud. Now I know they only signed him in January, and of course he was fantastic in helping France win the World Cup, and he's brought the best out of Eden Hazard. But if Chelsea really want to be challenging for trophies, they're going to need an out-and-out goal scorer, not a 32-year-old who can't find the back of the net for love nor money. And talking of finding the back of the net for love nor money, that's something again that Alvaro Morata just does not seem to be able to do. He has good spurts, much like Willian, where he can prove to be a consistent goal scorer, but they're all too infrequent. This is why I think that Chelsea will jump at the chance to cash in on him and may choose to get rid of both when push comes to shove and the new laws come into play. As for the ones who are staying with Liverpool, well, of course, summer signings such as Keita, Fabinho, Xherdan Shaqiri and Alisson Becker are all going to be staying, along with the front three of Firmino, Salah and Mane. That's pretty much a no-brainer. In defence, Virgil van Dijk is definitely going to stay, along with left-back Andrew Robertson, although technically Robertson is Scottish, so I'm not quite sure how that one may work. A deal could be found. Alongside this, Georginio Wijnaldum will be staying in the squad. However, I was a little bit on the fence about him from being in the group that was staying and the group I'm on the fence about. He'll join with Dejan Lovren, who again, I think may be tempted to leave Liverpool if they really want to get rid of him. The emergence of Joe Gomez at centre-back and Virgil van Dijk's fantastic form means that Lovren, the self-proclaimed best defender in the world, may not be needed anymore at Liverpool. Obviously, they'll need some backup, and I also think that Joel Matip will be leaving, but I'm sure they could blood some of their youngsters or bring in some young English prospects ahead of having Dejan Lovren in their squad. As for those who I think are definitely going to be leaving Liverpool, well, two of them are completely obvious. It's Karius and Mignolet. Karius is on loan to Besiktas at the moment, but hasn't signed a permanent deal, and chances are he'll definitely be moved on, as Alisson looks to be the Liverpool goalie for at least the next few years. Alongside those two, I've gone with Alberto Moreno and Divock Origi. Both of them could be good players on their day, but none of them are nowhere near as consistent as the players that are taking their spot in the first team. They may get the odd game here and there, but let's be honest, anything around 20 to 25 million, I'm sure Klopp and Liverpool will jump at the chance of selling them. Next up is Manchester City, who after all their big spending are left with the highest amount of foreign players possible, 17, in their 25-man squad. However, due to the new rules, of course, 5 of them are going to have to be leaving. Now, it's fairly obvious for Manchester City who their best players are. So the likes of Aguero, David Silva, Bernardo Silva, Sane, Ederson in goal, Mendy at left back, Gundogan, all those kind of players definitely won't be leaving. There's just no need for it. As for the one who I'm slightly on the fence about, it's Nicolas Otamendi. Personally, I absolutely can't stand the guy. I think he's not the best defender and he's overly aggressive and just a bit of an idiot on the football pitch. However, he also has done pretty well for City and won them a fair few titles, so I'm not sure they'll be that quick to discard him as I am. As for the ones going out, well, I'm sorry City fans, but there's a club legend who I think will be on the out list, and it's Vincent Kompany. Don't get me wrong, he's been a fantastic servant to the club and one of the best defenders in the Premier League over the last 10 years or so. However, he hasn't made more than 20 appearances in a league season for the last 3 years. His injuries mean that he's constantly in and out of the team, and for someone like Pep Guardiola who wants to build a continuous, structured team, he can't really have his best defender and captain in and out of the side. This, as well as his aging years, means I think he's going to be top of the out list. That'll be alongside Mangala, who can't seem to get a game at Manchester City for love nor money, Claudio Bravo, who's proven himself to not be a very good goalkeeper, and left-back Alexander Zinchenko, who despite being a good youngster, just doesn't have enough in the tank to overtake Benjamin Mendy at the moment. As for their 5th player, well, it'll be Danilo, unfortunately. I think Pep Guardiola actually quite likes him and brought him in because of that. But over time, he's shown that he's just not up to Manchester City standards and doesn't really have a fixed position. Whether he's right back, left back or defensive midfield, he's not good enough to overtake anyone in the starting 11, so he'll probably be gone. Now across Manchester and to City's rivals Manchester United, where to be honest, everything that could go wrong has gone wrong this season, and I see a lot of their players on the verge of leaving if they don't turn things around. The only 2 that I can say are definitely going to stay post-Brexit should be Anthony Martial and David De Gea. Apart from that, the rest of the squad is up for grabs. First up, there's the likes of Eric Bailly, there's Matteo Darmian, there's Fellaini, Herrera, Lindelof, Sergio Romero, Nemanja Matic, Juan Mata and Antonio Valencia. All of them are potentially not good enough to play for Manchester United at the moment. Whether they're aging, whether they're just not good enough, or whether they're way too expensive, much like someone who they'll be getting rid of, I think, there needs to be a change at Manchester United, and that could be in the form of young English players. Also, these guys leaving may mean more room for the likes of Rashford and Lingard to play more often and develop as young English internationals. Now, because United actually only have 14 foreign players in their squad, they'll only need to be getting rid of 2. And there was a bit of a contentious decision in my brain as to whether or not they were going to get rid of Fred only a few months after signing him. This is because the £52 million man, well, he hasn't really been that impressive. From what I've seen, he's definitely not been £52 million worth of player, so the Brazilian could be on his way. But I've given him the benefit of the doubt, and I think he will stay at Manchester United. The 2 to go out, however, well, first off will be Marcos Rojo. In and out of the injuries, the 28-year-old has not really shown any consistency, and he's another one of these players whose versatility isn't for his own good. He can play centre-back or left-back where he's not exactly the quickest, the strongest, the best on the ball, or really just the best in that position. I know the centre-backs haven't been great this season, but he's not better than any of them. And at left-back, well, Luke Shaw's resurgence has effectively ended Rojo's chance of getting into that spot. So I think that he'll be leaving the club, along with Alexis Sanchez. For most of you Manchester United fans, I bet you'll be feeling the same. You can't wait for Sanchez to be out of that door. Not only did he definitely want to move to Manchester City, then move to United just because they paid him the money, he's a complete waste of time and space and talent. He was fantastic at Arsenal, so it's amazing how someone could just leave and suddenly become so bad. He's got all the money he wants now, surely it's time to turn up and start playing on the pitch. Anyway, as for Manchester United, I'm sure they'll be delighted to get the £500,000 a week player straight off their wage bill. And last but not least, we come to Tottenham Hotspur. Now, despite having a really good, strong English core, they still do have the maximum amount of foreign players in their squad at 17, meaning they'll have to get rid of 5 of them. Now, where it gets slightly tricky is actually separating the Spurs squad into those who are definitely going to stay and to those who may actually be in with a chance of being sold. The likes of Serge Aurier and Moussa Sissoko always divide opinion, so I think they may actually be the ones to go, even though Sissoko has been in brilliant form recently, leading him to being recalled to the French national side. As for the ones who are definitely staying, well, it's all the familiar faces you see in the Spurs side week in, week out. And that's because they haven't signed anybody in the summer. The likes of Lloris, Vertonghen, Alderweireld, Gazzaniga, Son, Lucas, all of them, they're still going to be staying in the Spurs squad as they look to build for the future. Of course, Eriksen, Son, Lamela and Sanchez will also be in there, but so will Eric Dyer. Now, a few of you are asking, he plays for England, how come he's not a homegrown player? Well, he actually left England and moved to Portugal when he was a youngster and came up through the Sporting Lisbon Academy. He was signed by Spurs at age 20, however, obviously couldn't then complete 3 years training at an English club before his 21st birthday, meaning that he doesn't count as a homegrown player. As for the ones leaving, well, they're probably going to be a contentious decision, so Spurs fans out there, let me know what you think. Michel Vorm is definitely going to be leaving. The 35-year-old's moved down the pecking order behind Gazzaniga and is now 3rd choice at the club, so I can't imagine him even wanting to stay. Fernando Llorente has proved himself to be a decent striker, but nowhere near good enough for Harry Kane's backup. As for George Kevin Nkudu, he's got a stinking attitude and is nowhere near the first team squad at all. Elsewhere, there's Moussa Dembele, who said that he won't be signing a contract extension at Spurs, meaning he'll be leaving next summer regardless. And lastly, it's Victor One Yama. Now, there are some days where I think One Yama is a fantastic footballer, a sort of beefed up, bigger, stronger, quicker, faster Claude Makelele. And there's other days I think, how on earth is he a professional footballer? Sometimes when he's smashing into opponents, he looks great, and the other times he can't even pass a ball more than 10 yards. He's incredibly infuriating, and his injury worries haven't stopped in the last year and a bit. So I think that should Spurs find the right buyer for him, they'll probably end up moving him on at the expense of someone else. So there you have it, the top 6 teams in the Premier League who could be affected by the new foreign Premier League ruling of switching from 17 to 12 players in their squad. But on the flip side of this, it presents a fantastic opportunity for young English players to force their way into the first team. Do you think the likes of Reiss Nelson and Jadon Sancho would have left Arsenal and Manchester City respectively if they'd have had more of a chance of getting into the squad in front of less foreign players in the team? All we do know is Jadon Sancho would be welcomed with open arms by any of the top 6 clubs in the Premier League. But this does mean that English players will now become a premium and they'll be even more expensive. The likes of James Maddison from the Championship will also get an opportunity to move up, but will we really be seeing the likes of Raheem Sterling's £50 million transfer for an English player becoming the norm in the next few years? All this is set to be discussed and unveiled within the next year or so, but we could see the face of Premier League football and foreign players within it change forever. As always, let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. Smash the like button and let me know who from your team you'd have out of the squad as a foreign player. Whilst you're doing that, you can also click here to check out all the other videos we've got going on Onefootball. But until next time, I will see you guys later.